Hi there, welcome to video 5 of the C152. This is the test flight where we test the settings I've allocated using X's and O's on the X-Touch mini controller and the Steam Deck controller. So that's the intention today, is to try and use as many systems as possible from that to make sure things are working. So the flight plan we've got today is in the southeast of England, just above London. We're going to fly from Elstree Aerodrome and we're going to fly out using runway 26. So we'll fly out in this direction, stabilise the flight, and then we'll turn around and pick up the VOR for Brookman's Park on 117.5, and we're flying on the 55 degree radial and pick up to the VOR, and then we get to the VOR, we'll carry on using that VOR and we'll fly out on the 110 radial to Southend Airport. So it's about 40 something nautical miles. Southend Airport, we have got an ADF there, and that is on 362.5. It says 362 on the plan, but it's 326.5 that we actually need to program in. So we'll use that, but what we'll also do is program our VOR2. We'll tune that into Clacton, and we'll pick up this radial here. So we'll see the crossing of two variables, two radials coming in. So if we look at Southend Airport's information, it tells us that the Clacton VOR is on 114.55 and it's on a bearing of 225. So we'll program that into VOR2, and then as we get close we should see both sets of crosshairs join up and give us an accurate pinpoint on Clacton. I don't have any DME equipment on board the C152, so we've got no way of knowing how far away we are. So we're using that crossing of radials to navigate. So I will park this over on my second monitor, so it's out of your way, and let's go and have a look at the sim. So I'll be flying with my head tracker on for most of this. So over here we can see the weather is winds coming from 270, so that's why we're going to take off 260, 11 knots. It doesn't give us the pressure, but it does tell us that the this airport is at 315 feet, so we need to adjust the barometers to read 315, so we're in the ballpark. So let's go and get ready to fly, and what I'll also do is I will bring in my webcam here, which is pointing at my X-Touch mini controller, and I've also got a software view up here of this Stream Deck, so you won't be able to see my finger pressing buttons, and I'll try to make sure that you know when I actually, I'm not just getting my phone out of the pocket because I've got lots of messages coming in today. You'll know, I'll try and tell you when I touch the Stream Deck. What I'll do is, let's get rid of that, I will freeze this tracker here once we've had a quick look around, made sure everything's working. So let's just check that we've got all our controls, including carb heat, so they're all working fine, and that's all free and working. Okay, so let's turn on the fuel valve. So I'm doing this from the Stream Deck, and there's the fuel valve open, and I'm going to freeze my head tracker about there. Okay, so let's get the engine started. So we will turn on the beacon light and the battery, and I did that from the Stream Deck, and that's all coming up. And we will now use the primer. Again, I'm using this primer, I'm doing it on my Stream Deck. So and we'll just open the throttle and the mixture fully, and that should have primed everything. Check the parking brake is on, which it is, and we can now clear the prop and There we are, we're alive, and we've got the rev counter, and that's responding. So let's there we are. Okay, so let's avionics are all on. So let's start tuning some radios and the nav aids in. So the first one is on VOR1. We want to have our 117.5. So we'll be using this one here, 117.5, and make that active. In fact, we're close enough to it that it's picking up from the ground, and we want to change the OBS 1 to 55 degrees for that one. And you'll see actually that lines up pretty well already, even where we are parked. We're pretty much on the VOR there. Let's change the bank here, and we want Clacton's VOR, and Clacton's VOR is 114.55. So we're doing that on the second radio here, 114.55. Make that active, so that's active now. It won't pick it up, we're too far away from that, but we've changed the OBS and we wanted that to be 225, so we can spin that around now. So that picks up the 225 bit radial there. The ADF frequency was 362.5, so we'll keep an eye on this, and we're using the ADF here. So we're on the lower bank, bank B, and we want 362.5. So I press this button here, and you'll see the decimal point is alive here, so we are definitely on 362.5. And again, we're nowhere near close enough for that to pick up. So we have set VOR1, VOR2, the frequency is set, this is set here, and we need to check the barometer. We want that on sorry, we need to go back and change the ADF. I've changed that by accident. 315 feet, 315 feet, and let's go back to this one here, and it's 362.5. so our ADF is reprogrammed. We're going to try and set this here, the transponder. I've got that programmed here, but if you saw my previous video, you see that my script doesn't always work, and it's not working this time. So let's try a couple of things with X's and O's and see if we can make it work. First thing is, if we go to offline mode and wait a few seconds and put it back on again, and let's see if that's working this time. No, I can see that it's lighting up here, so it's definitely calling the script, but it's not happening. So the next thing to do would be to exit X's and O's and reload it, and try one more time. Is that script going to work? No, it's not. We could go into scripting and just refresh the script. That might do something, but I'm not really bothered with the hassle. If it doesn't work this time, let's just update that script, although we've done nothing to it. Sometimes it thinks we have, and we'll take it offline and back on and just see if that script's working this time. Nothing. Okay, so we're going to give up with that, and we will just turn it on here because I'll be calling for flight following later, so we'll just turn that on, ready to go. Okay, so I think we're all ready to start taxiing. So if I bring up my air traffic control, and I need to tune to 122.405. 122.405. and we're going to select this runway as runway 26 and announce our taxiing.
Echo Golf Tango Romeo traffic Cessna Golf Bravo Mike is taxiing to runway 26.
Again, I'm going to put that onto a second monitor to keep it out of your way, but let's go and have a look at taxiing. I'm not going to bother with engine run-up checks. Oh, let's turn the alternator on and get some current flowing. Okay, so we look like we're set to go. So let's turn on some lights. I'll do it on the actual X-Touch Mini now. So I want to have my nav lights on, and I want to have my taxi lights on, and we'll take the parking brake off and we'll taxi to the runway. So parking brakes on my Stream Deck, they're off, and one thing I've noticed with this add-on scenery, there are a lot of aircraft parked. It seems to be very busy. It is actually a busy aerodrome, but usually there's a lot more off the ground than this. And they're active. If you crash into them, you crash into them, I've discovered. So let's get ourselves onto the edge of the runway and we'll do our final checks. I'm not going to do the full engine run up. Let's get to the runway and we will now put the parking brake on. Sorry about the jumps. The sun's moved around again into my room, so we've got some strange lighting going on affecting my head tracker, but there we are. Okay, so let's just check that we've got. Yep, and I'm going to fly with take off with 1 notch of flaps. So let's get the flaps sorted. They're done. Okay. So let's announce that we're taking off. I'm going to announce that we're departing to the north. It's a debatable whether we're going exactly north or west, but it's sort of north. Sorry about this head tracker. It's really playing up at the moment. Let's try and move a light around there. That might be better. No. Let's recenter that. Okay. I might have to abandon the head tracker if it's going to keep playing up. It's very variable lighting today. We've got these scattered showers, scattered clouds, and so the sun's in and out the whole time. Anyway, let's announce that we're going out.
Echo Golf Tango Romeo traffic Cessna Golf Bravo Mike taking off runway 26 north departure.
So taxi lights off, landing lights on, strobe on because we're entering the runway. Parking brake off, and let's so I'm going to fly at about 2,000 feet today. Oop, took that a bit fast, lost concentration. Looking at my script. Let's get centre lined. So we'll fly about 2,000 feet today, and about 90 knots I think we're going to aim for. Airspeed's alive, so we're watching out for about 60 knots. And away we go. So just going to let the speed build up, and then we'll start the trim for the climb. Okay, I've been asked to tune to approach now. And approach is on 126.45. And we request flight following.
Northwest approach Cessna Golf Bravo, Mike, is taxi Cessna 152 miles southwest of Echo Golf, Tango Romeo, 1,200 feet. Request flight following. Cessna Golf Bravo, Mike, Northwest approach. Squawk 1766.
So we'll do our squawk code 1, 7, 6, 6.
Cessna Mike, radar contact 3 miles southwest of Echo Golf, Tango Romeo, 1,600 feet. Altimeter 29.7.
Yeah, that's about right.
Roger, Cessna, Mike.
So let's trim for 90 knots. And we're reaching 2,000 feet, so we'll take some power off and stop the climb, but we're about 90 knots, so we're just going to power down now. And let that settle for a minute. And pull back on the mixture a little bit as well. Lean that out. Cheating slightly because I have got an exhaust gas gauge, which there isn't one in real life, but I have got one on my stream deck. And again, let's power that back a little bit. And a little bit more throttle. We're about 90 knots, and we'll let it settle, and then we'll sort out the trim. But I think it's going to probably settle about alright. Just taking a little bit of throttle out. Okay, so we'll start our turn and we'll pick up the VOR now. So we're going to turn to the left. And we need to go just past the 55 because we are slightly to the left of it. So. Again, we'll just watch the trim for the altitude. But I'm pretty happy with that. That should stabilise out. So we've just got to watch the VOR. So it was about 10 nautical miles, so we're coming back over the airfield now. So less than 10 minutes, about 8 minutes or so, we should reach the VOR. We've got no DME on here to measure it, so what we'll be watching is firstly how sensitive, as you get closer to the VOR, it becomes very sensitive to your being on or off the bearing. Also, we will get to the point where there's the zone of uncertainty, where we actually lose, if you go fly right over the VOR, if you will lose the transmission, so you'll see the indicators here disappear as you fly over the VOR. And could do taking just a tiny notch of power out. We've got a little bit of climb going on, so just come back slightly on the throttle, and that should descend a little bit, and then hopefully we'll stabilise on about 2,000 feet. Again, take a slight notch of power out, just take the rivs down a little bit. Still climbing as oh, we still got flaps in. Let's take the flaps out. That could be what it is. So take the flaps out and retrim for that. Just let that settle, see how it's doing as it settles. We're going to have a bit of oscillation. I'm just not putting any inputs into it other than trying to keep us on the bearing. And you'll see that the airspeed is oscillating up and down a bit, and so is our VSI, but that should settle itself down. It should really settle after a while. So airspeed goes up, and then we start to climb, and the airspeed will go down again. To get ourselves back on track, so we need to go back about 40 to 40 degrees, 45 degrees, because our VOR is indicating that we're quite a way left off track, so let's get back on track. It looks like we've stabilised pretty much on the speed. 100 knots, okay, we'll go with that. 100 knots and pretty stable. Let's just take a tiny bit of power out, and that should settle down.
Contact, Luton approach on 129.55. Good day.
129.55 Cessna, Mike. approach Cessna Golf Bravo Mike 2,100 feet.
Cessna Golf Bravo Mike, losing approach altimeter 29.9 for continue as planned.
So we're descending a bit, so just give it a little tiny bit of tweak on the throttle, and again let's get back on that VOR. Just going to get very, very twitchy as we get close to it. Probably not that far away now. But there's a danger of chasing the arrow too much. But let's try and keep an eye. I'm watching the compass as well. So we're on about 52, 53. That should bring us in quite nicely. But we need to stabilise that turn. Judging by that needle moving, we're pretty close to going over the VOR now. As we should see the indicators flip in a minute. Oh, somebody enjoying themselves flying across in front of me. So we're going outbound now, so we'll turn the OBS to 110 and fly outbound. So big right hand turn coming. And again, we need to overfly the 110 for about 10 degrees and begin to pick up the actual radial that we want. Okay, so turning left to bring it back to 110 because we're watching that VOR. that's about right. So we're pretty much on the radial on the way out. I need a bit more power. Let's get a bit of a climb going here. Bring it up to 2,000 feet again. And take the trim back one notch. Just to initiate a little bit of climb, take us back to 2,000 feet. So we've got about 30 nautical miles to go, so I'll probably edit out a bit of this so you don't have to sit and watch the countryside roll by. And as we get closer to Southend, I'll bring you back in again and we can watch the ADF and the VOR. So you can see now that the ADF is alive and slightly to the left. The ADF is actually on one end of the runway, so that's not too bad. And we're pretty much on the VOR, and I need to take some power back because we've been climbing slightly. So we'll take the power back and start a bit of a descent to try to get towards 2,000 feet. And expecting a handover soon to Southend approach. Can't be far away. I can see the sea ahead of us, so we must be quite near Southend now. And we'll start putting the power back in again now as we approach the 2,000 feet. And we're keeping an eye on the ADF.
for Cessna, Mike. Southend approach Cessna Golf, Bravo, Mike, 2,100 feet.
Cessna Golf, Bravo, Mike, Southend approach altimeter, 29.97, continue as planned.
So I'm going to switch to Southend Tower now. So I'm going to pick up my nearest airports, and it's not yet on my list. So we've got a little while to go. There's a lot of airfields around this area, so we'll leave that come up the list. but we're not close enough yet to Southend to really change. Tiny bit more power. Let's get this climb back in again. And watching the VOR, watching the ADF. It's coming in okay. We're getting closer. So Southend is appearing on the list. We're getting closer to Southend. It's number 7 on the list. I'll wait for it to get to about number 5 and then we'll contact them. It's number 6. I feel it's time to contact them because I can pretty well see where we are. So it's number 5. And Southend Tower is 127.730.
Southend Tower Cessna Golf, Bravo, Mike, is 900 miles west, 1,700 feet, with Charlie to land.
Cessna Golf Bravo, Mike, Southend Tower. Altimeter 29.9 with tree 29.14. Make left base runway 5.
Fly left base runway 5 Cessna, Mike.
So a few miles out yet. It says about 9 miles. Get back on the VOR1 and we'll watch out for VOR2 to start unpinning from the left hand side as we get closer. I'm going to overfly the runway and then do a circuit. So we'll fly along the runway heading and then we'll do a full circuit. A crosswind leg, downwind, base leg, and then in. Which will confuse ATC because they probably expect me to do a straight in to runway 5 from here. But I want to test out the accuracy of the VOR crossing with the 2 radials crossing to see if we actually are on target for that.
Clear to land runway 5 Cessna, Mike.
So again, I'm cross-checking all my nav aids. There's my ADF, and we're pretty much on the VOR here. Slightly to the right of it, but we're coming in okay. And got to watch for the second VOR to start to unpin itself, because that's really giving us the distance. And I think that's Southend Airport there. That's a little patch in the distance. Yep, I can see the runways. So things should be happening. You can see the two aprons. It's like a V shape from here with an arrowhead pointing just above the where it says Cessna. That's the airfield there. And yeah, it's VOR2 is unpinning. So getting towards the centre. So we'll try and get them pretty accurately. So the two crossing them, that should give us the centre of the runway really. And the ADFS should be pointing slightly to the left because it's on the left, the end of the runway, the east end of the runway is where the actual transmitter is. So there's the airfield down there, and you can see that we're going to get the two radars crossing pretty much on it. So let's start to configure the engine. We need to lose a bit of height. We'll go over at 2,000 feet, but then we're ready to descend on the other side and to slow down. You can go with full mixture, and we really ought to bring some carb heat in if we're going to start descending. So we just make sure we don't get any icing. It's a hot day today, we shouldn't really, but we'll just follow procedures. Okay, so pretty much over the runway, there it is. And that's how having two VORs work. It's pretty good. So we're now going to fly out. So let's descend. So we'll take a lot of power out, get some descent going, and we're going to fly out parallel to the runway. So we need to turn on to 05. And let's not rush our descent. Let's keep the nosebleeds away. So we're on 05 and we'll drop it down. Trying to get to about 1,000 feet. Okay, let's go crosswind now. And we can put one level of flaps in. Bit of power to compensate for that. And we're passing the wrong way centre line, so we'll give it a minute or so. Let's get this leveled off a little bit more power. And we'll turn it on to the reciprocal heading. So we're flying the downwind leg now. Just feeling getting a bit close to the runway there, so we'll just take it away slightly. That danger of getting dragged into the runway, you can see it, you want to steer towards it. Watching the climb. Let's begin to drop it down a little bit now. There's the runway. Probably start our turnabout now, so we're going to go crosswind and one more notch of flaps. Turn into the runway heading now. We'll go for full flaps. Tiny bit high. Let's reduce the power. And we use our potential energy, our height, and we'll bring us down. Okay, so flaps up so we can't take off again inadvertently. Wasn't that bad a landing. Pretty much on the stall warning as our feet touch the ground. A bit hot and high, but there we are. Okay, let's get off the runway.
Cessna Mike contact ground on 127.73.
Well, it's the same frequency. Let's contact the ground. And
Going to 127.73 Cessna, Mike.
we'll go to parking.
South End ground, Cessna Golf, Bravo, Mike, request taxi to parking.
Cessna Golf Bravo Mike taxi to general aviation parking via Taxiway Charlie.
Taxiing to general aviation parking using Taxiway, Charlie Cessna, Mike.
So let's go for landing lights off, taxi light on, strobe off, because we're off the runway, and let's go find some parking. So again, I've got some additional scenery here for this one. Bought it from the marketplace. I think it might be Orbix. Again, I really like it. Nice scenery. The taxiway markings are much better. And there's a Vulcan bomber part there. I wonder if that's permanent at Southend. Not sure, but there we are. Okay, let's go find our parking. Oh, there we are. I've got lots of guys standing around. Have you got an actual marshal today? Very rarely get one here. Oh, there is. Yes. Bravest man in the world gets these props coming quite close to me before he says stop. Okay, parking brake on. And let's start switching some things off. So we shall carb heat off. Should have really done it as soon as we hit the runway in case there's a takeoff or go around. Give yourself full power, but there we are. Okay. We'll cut it with mixture, throttle off, and fuel gauge closed. And let's get some lights off, taxi off, beacon off, nav off, alternator off, battery off, magneto set to off. So that's it, that's the full flight. The only thing I didn't test was the radios, so I didn't listen to the Morse codes, but I guarantee they worked when I did a previous go on this flight, so I know they work fine. So apart from that dodgy script, which I presume is still dodgy, let's see if we can turn my transponder off. Still not working. No idea what's going on there, but we can turn that off here. Let's do a manual off. Interesting, I didn't change the ADF settings. I don't know what that's set for here. Let's have a look. Let's get this out of the way. It's set for BFO. That seemed to work. I'm not sure what BFO is for, but it definitely picked it up, so I didn't need to change that setting. Well, there you are. So that's really my work done as much as I can on the 152. Apart from this script here, I tried it with a script, for a separate one for each button, one to press for standby, one to press for on, one press for alt, one for test, and that worked fine, just having a small individual script for each one. But it does mean it takes 5 separate buttons, so I'm not going to waste buttons doing that. I just have to use the mouse for one function. But I've pretty much eliminated the use of mouse, as that which was my aim for this. Okay, next video I'm probably going to change aircraft, and I've been looking at flying the Diamond. I've been flying in the Alps with one of the Diamonds. Good vision there, so I think I'll have a go at programming up the Stream Deck and X-Touch for the Diamond aircraft next. So no promises, but that's kind of what I've got in mind. So see you in the next video.